Okay, welcome back to Handy as Hell, everyone. Another little mini split air conditioning video for you. And as you can see, we have an E1 error code on this Pioneer unit. Now, we're going to talk a bit about Pioneer and about E1. But what you need to know at the moment is E1 is a communication error, and that can be slightly misleading in itself because communication errors can pop up for various different reasons. So there's a bit of troubleshooting to do, but I'm going to save you a bunch of time. So let's sit down, let's talk about Pioneer and E1. And I'll give you, as we go along, I will give you on the screen all of the model numbers that I'm actually working on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let's first of all talk about Pioneer. Now, I am in Hawaii, and if you are in Hawaii, Pioneer is not the unit for you, right? There's very little support for Pioneer. In fact, you can't even buy them here on island. You can get these units on Amazon if you can get them to ship here. But word of warning, do not do that. That was a schoolboy error on my behalf. And when I moved to Hawaii, I ordered what I thought would be a cheaper unit from Amazon. And it was a great unit. I installed it myself. I actually had an AC tech come and do the final hookup for the refrigerant line and all of that. Although I now know how to do that myself, but I originally had them do it. But I did everything else myself, and the system was great for many years. In fact, for 7 years, it was flawless. And then all of a sudden, bingo, I get my Echo 1 E1 error code. Now, if you've been watching this channel, you've seen I've done another video about replacing some circuit boards for a Mitsubishi unit that's been on this house for close to 20 years. And you can't fault Mitsubishi. They are fantastic units. They are very well supported here in Hawaii. So if I had to do it again, I would just pony up the cash and go with one of those units for peace of mind. There's a few places where I could just drive down there, pick up circuit board in stock, or get them to order for me, and Bob's your uncle. So let's go back to Pioneer. So Pioneer, this particular model, which I'm going to leave here, the details. In fact, details for the outdoor unit, details for the indoor unit. Finding spare parts for this particular unit is difficult. Why? Because Pioneer has discontinued these parts. Now, Pioneer has discontinued them, but this is what you need to realize. A lot of these AC companies use third-party companies for their parts, especially the electronics and electrical parts inside the units. Pioneer, not now, but going back to this previous model that I'm working on, they used a certain company for one of the circuit boards, the power boards in the unit, and they used a different company for the main control board in the unit. And you can still find those because other AC companies still use that third party company to supply them. So you can find the same circuit board. It just takes a bit more effort. Now, what I did is I took the unit apart. I found the part number on the particular circuit boards, and then I went into the Googly and I did some research. I compared pictures and I found identical parts They're just not labeled Pioneer. They are actually made by somebody else. And that somebody else, once I show you the circuit boards, will be revealed. So that takes care of the Pioneer bit. If you call Pioneer and they say, sorry, discontinued that part, fear not. You don't have to go replace the whole unit. You can still, with a bit of effort, find those circuit boards. Now let's talk about E1 error code, communication error code. Now, when you originally get this and you quickly go online and you look up what it could be, it tells you it's a communication problem, your wiring is installed incorrectly, or you have corrosion on the terminals, all that kind of stuff. If the unit was working fine for years, it's unlikely to be any of that. What's more likely is you have a, a fried piece of one of your boards. You have something broken on one of the boards. Different AC units have different circuit boards. Some just have one, some have two, some have three. But in general, let's generalize, there is a main power board that is board that takes your power from your house and it kind of does all its gizmo stuff and transforms the power and does everything it needs to do and then sends that new current off to the control board. And the control board is basically the brains of the operation, like your computer, that controls everything with your mini split AC system. You'll see some other components in there that could affect an E1 code. I might not get into that now. I might make another video because it's very unlikely to be one of those things. Generally, E1 for Pioneer communication error code, maybe labeled something different on different manufacturers, is because something's fried on one of your circuit boards. Now, you could do a lot of research and you could, if you felt so inclined and you had the skill set, pull the circuit boards out and do a whole bunch of testing on the resistors and all that and isolate which part is bust. Most people, if they're not electronic engineers, they don't have that skill set. It would take a long time. Most people want this AC up and running ASAP. So, what can you do? Well, the easiest thing is to just replace the circuit board that was damaged. Unfortunately, and this is what happened on my Mitsubishi. Unfortunately, I had a little creepy crawly creature, a little gecko, short circuit my power board. And then the power board in turn fried the control board. Then I went to purchase a control board because I thought, well, that's the cheapest one. It's likely to be the control board. But as soon as I installed the new control board, bingo, it was fried immediately by that power board again. So to make everything really simple, it's going to cost you a few more dollars. But to be foolproof, just replace both of them. The time it takes you to open the unit up, unscrew everything, they're not the easiest things to get at. You might as well just, throw in a couple of $100 extra dollars or 150 or even $100. I think on the Mitsubishi, the control board was cheap. Might as well do that and replace both. Now, there is a possibility that it is also the little control board on your indoor unit. It could be that. There are some very easy tests that can be done before you take anything apart to confirm whether it's the outdoor boards or the indoor boards. It varies slightly from manufacturer to manufacturer, but I'm not going to bore you with that. There's plenty of videos on YouTube about how to determine if it's the outside control board, outside boards, or indoor board on the indoor unit. So that's it. My recommendation to keep things easy for the DIYer that's tackling this for the first time: buy both boards, or all three boards, or the one board, whatever it is. Buy everything you need, replace it all. Right, having bored you with all of that, we're going to get to taking this Pioneer unit apart, and we're going to throw in the new boards. I'll show you what they look like before we do it, and I'll also tell you a little trick that you need to do before you throw them in, especially in tropical climates. Right, here we go. Right, here we go. These are my replacement boards. This guy here I found on eBay. This guy here was from a company in California called HVAC Mirage. Mirage, you know, like you would see in the desert. Mirage. And both these boards, out of a Pioneer, are made by Midea. Midea, okay? So that is Midea. So when you're looking for the part numbers, you can see this little sticker here. If you see there, it says 1712240 and 35608. That is the part number that was on the board inside my Pioneer unit. And on this guy here, same thing, 1712240 15997. Same thing, that was the part number I found on the power board inside my Pioneer unit. They look identical to the ones in there. They came with all these cables, so hopefully that all lines up. Now, I told you what I was going to do, or the little trick. These have been, because I live in Hawaii and we get a lot of bugs, these have been sprayed, like in that other video I made, they have been sprayed with one of those silicone, or I'm not sure what it's made of, but one of those protective coatings to stop corrosion on circuit boards. There's many different manufacturers, go look it up, but basically some very liberal coats of that stuff on both sides, and what that does is it stops a little gecko or something crawling across some of this circuit board, making contact in the wrong places and frying your boards. So that's it. Those guys have been sprayed. Before you spray, just remember to tape up all the little tabs where you actually want good contact for your wiring. You don't want to coat those or you'll get poor connections. That's it. Let's move on to fixing this unit. Here we go. Here it is. Here's the Pioneer unit in question. There's the Mitsubishi Mr. Slim that I worked on before. Go watch that video as well. And because I've done this before, it's going to be much quicker. But there is the model number. This is the outdoor model, Yankee November. So YN036 GMFI17RPD. Pretty old unit, according to Pioneer, even though I bought it, what, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. Anyway, we're going to take this guy apart. So, how does it come apart? Well, how do we get to the circuit boards? So, basically, if you look on all these units, they all have a lid. They have a lid that is held on by some screws. So this one has 2 screws and just tabs on this side. The lid's going to come off. Then we're going to take this front panel off to get access to all the boards in this unit, which are just under here. Might also take this guy off for better access, but we shall see. So let's get cracking. It's a very good idea to take pictures or film everything, just so you know where everything goes back. Every time you take a wire off, they're pretty good. Most of these circuit boards, the wires will only go in one specific location, but once you take a wire off, you want to know where it goes back on the new board. So those 2 screws out. There we go. There should be a couple of tabs over here. Oh, I remember. I remember now. Yeah, okay. So I forgot about this bit, but basically this little panel here where all the wiring comes in has some little screws. That's got to be loosened before you can pop this out and get access to another screw there. So let's do that. I forgot about that. And then don't go dropping your screws like I just did. Okay, as you can see, this guy gets loose, and then I have access here to a couple more screws, one of which is a bit corroded. Not liking the look of that guy. I remember now. Now, word of caution. I have turned the power off at the breaker inside, but I'm going to test to see if any power is coming in, just because I don't trust anything, and you really don't want to get zapped by 240 volt. Also, there are large capacitors in these guys, so generally after the power's turned off, you really need to wait a while for those capacitors to discharge, because if you touch one of those that's fully charged, it will give you a nasty shock as well. Okay, as we said, top is off, circuit boards are under here. I'm going to take this side panel off, which had a screw down the bottom there, another screw down the bottom there, and it kind of lifts out. I cannot do it with one hand, but it kind of lifts out. You can see those tabs get separated. Oh, it's a little bugger. It's a little bugger, not wanting to come out, is it? You can see it just needs to drop a bit. There we go. There we go. And it has these, you can see it has these slots, and these guys on the other side hook into them. They just have to drop down a bit in order to drop out. Okay, so we'll put that to a side, and we shall carry on with the procedure. Now, as I said, I want to make sure before I go any further that I'm not going to kill myself. So, get yourself a tester, voltmeter, whatever you want. Mine's up and running. Let's just make sure. No is the answer. We do not have any juice. Right, as I said, you have a nice little schematic here, which didn't really help me with anything, but this plastic cover has some tabs, and it pulls off to reveal the boards. So let me show you how that works. So I found when I was doing this about a month ago that there's a lot of little plastic tabs on these that you might end up breaking. Try and be gentle. You can generally pry them apart with like a flathead screwdriver or something like that. But if you go and try and force it, you'll notice that, in fact, here's a good case in point. This one here, you see, it looks like it's ready to break, this little tab here. Now, there we go. So I'm starting to see the circuit boards in there. I think the top of this tray comes out with a couple of screws, or maybe just one screw from the underside down here. As you can see, let's put that guy there. It seems to want to lift out. Some more tabs. Aha. Just be careful, be patient. Something is binding just on the side here, so I guarantee it's just a plastic tab that is struggling. There we go. Release that guy, and here we go. You can see everything now is loose, and I am literally just holding on with cables. So let's give you a better view. You can see everything is loose now. It's just basically the cables holding the two boards here attached to everything. So this is important now to video everything so you know what you're disconnecting. So we're going to go on the underside and we're going to detail everything. So try and zoom into stuff. So at the front edge there we got yellow, red, black. We got this multicolored red thing here. And we got a couple of blues, different color, a few things at the back, a few things going into there. Where all of these connect to their components should be same colors, and the type of connector is can only be connected to one thing, so it should really help. So we'll take our time and start disconnecting stuff. Sometimes these flat type of pins or connectors are very, very tight, and you have to get a set of pliers on them to kind of pull them off. Just be careful you don't strip the wires. Take your time, be gentle. There we go, you see? Just like that. A lot of these AC units good tip for you. You can keep going back and forward. Like what I'm working on right now is this guy. So this guy, I was trying to disconnect it here at the board, but this cable is on, so I'm just going to disconnect it at that area there, which is back in there if you can see it, and we'll get that guy from there. Okay, there it is. There is the old board. I can't say I see any obvious signs of anything burnt out, but like I said, I haven't really tested anything on the board. There's a little bit of corrosion there, but as you can see, the replacement boards are identical. These are the see that little sticker there is where I got the board numbers from, so I could see those with my camera without taking everything apart, which was the good bit. Okay, time to replace everything. Obviously we want to reuse this plastic tray, so we're going to unscrew the boards in all these places from the tray so we can reuse it. Okay, so another little problem we came across, as you can see, there's some kind of silicone or mastic on the back of this that was glued to the tray. So this, once you remove the couple of screws for this, there's just some tabs on this side and a couple of pull tabs on that side, but it was still stuck there, so you had to pry it off because of that glue. New boards in the tray. Just make sure when you line this one up, there's a couple of places you could screw into. You want to screw it into this first one here, because on the back side of this tray there's some little plastic tabs that fit through these holes. So just kind of shift it around until it slots in nicely, and you should be good to go. So now we basically have to flip this guy upside down. This is the difficult bit now, reconnecting all the wires. Thankfully I've left all the wires that were connected to the power board still on them, so I'll be able to see where these guys go, and I'll just remove them one by one as I replace them. This guy, I got good video of where these spade connectors go, so I'll be able to match that up. Okay, here we go. Okay, everything is connected back up. I've just temporarily stuck the tray down like that because I'm going to test it before I close everything up. One more thing to mention, a whole bunch of these wires are actually all tied together with zip ties. If you actually undo all the zip ties, snap them all off, gives you a lot more range of movement with this guy. It's much easier, so what I'm going to do is just make sure it all works, reattach the tray and all that the way it's supposed to be, and then I am going to reinstall some zip ties and tidy up the wiring inside. All right, let's turn the power on inside, see what we get. I just noticed that little flashing LED light. That was not happening before, so that's a good sign. All right, let's go inside. Okay, here we go. Fingers crossed we don't fry anything. Moment of truth. Okay, so far so good, but that's what it used to do before. Let's see if it kicks on. Oh, I feel cool air. Yes, 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 yes. Now, let's not celebrate too soon, as the other error code was coming on after about 30 seconds or something. So let's just sit here for a while, admire our handiwork, and make sure we don't get an error code. I don't think you want to be watching this, so we're going to call that the end of the video, unless after I turn the camera off I develop the same error, but I'll be sure to let you know. Alright, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, tell other people about the channel. Hope this helps you with your Pioneer split AC system.